guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we are finally going to be talking about ferrets. You guys spoke and I am listening. I know I have not been putting out ferret content as of late. I thought I've got some things I wanted to talk about regarding ferrets, so let's just get right into it. And first, I will say the lighting today is terrible, and I don't have a ton of opportunities to sit down and film. It is so gloomy and it's like 3 o'clock. So we are just going to work with what I've been given today. The title of this video, The Truth About Ferrets. I have a couple different points that I wanted to touch on of just things that I've learned since owning ferrets. I've had them for a couple years now. There are a lot of truths about ferrets. Some of them are very serious, some of them are more lighthearted, but all of which I think are equally important to know before going into getting ferrets, because they are a huge commitment, as you guys probably know. There's a lot of struggles and challenges that ferret owners have to face. It's not all sunshine and rainbows with ferrets. There are a lot of really hard days with them and harsh realities that you have to consider. I will say that they're not the best choice for children or people who have never had their own animal before. I'd say that there are other types of animals out there that would be better suited for those things. Just jump right into it. And I will say, yes, my website has been down. I just didn't feel like paying for it for a while, but it will be back up once you're watching this video. So the first point that I wanted to touch on is, if there is a weakness, they will find it. A hole in the wall, a loose panel of flooring, a weakened thread in the back of your couch, an open dryer vent, window screen, and they tend to remember these things. It takes them a while, at least for my ferrets, to forget about something. For example, I've had to get rid of half of my couch because of the ferrets. If there is even a slight weakness in something, they will typically take advantage of it. I call them very opportunistic creatures because it's true. They will get into anything and everything. Number 2 is a huge one, and I cannot stress this enough, and that is they will break your heart, and there's nothing you can do to prepare yourself for it. You can do all the preparation. You could try to not be extremely emotionally attached to them, as long as it doesn't affect your care for them. You know, ferrets are, especially in the United States, that come from ferret mills, are genetic catastrophes. They are pretty much destined to fail. And sometimes it can be ugly, and sometimes it can be drawn out, and sometimes it can be back and forth, and sometimes you never find out what's wrong. They only weigh like 2 pounds, but they take up a lot of space in your heart, and losing them never gets easier. I'm still very upset about the ferrets that I've lost, because they are just such sweet little animals, and it almost feels like we don't even deserve to have them, because they are kind of like a secret treasure. Like, not everyone appreciates ferrets. There's a lot of stereotypes surrounding ferrets. So for the people who get it and understand and have met ferrets, have been around ferrets, have had them themselves, and really got to see their true nature and true selves, it's really hard once they do go. Number 3, they will love you, but may not show it in the way that you would like. Many ferrets love to give kisses and cuddles and are very sweet animals, but the fact is they spend the majority of their time sleeping, and usually sleeping away from you, not in your bed, not up next to you. Sometimes, I mean, it's happened to me a bunch of times, but most of the time they're off on their own doing their own thing. This doesn't mean that your ferrets don't love you. I mean, you could argue that they're not really capable of feeling that in the way that we think, you know, because they are animals. Brains work a lot differently than ours. However, at least for my ferrets and my experience, they do show their love in various ways, and it can be just the cutest, most sweetest, precious thing ever. Pazu, for example, whom I've had since he was like 8 weeks old, we have such a strong connection. There have been moments where I've been really sad and not doing well. Pazu, again, typically, my ferrets are off doing their own things, sleeping by themselves. He will come up and sleep right next to me, which is not very typical. He keeps, you know, climbing up on the bed to check on me and going back down. This ferret just, like, he's very human-like. He can definitely sense my emotions, and he cares. He's showed me that he cares in the ways that only a ferret can. So I wanted to put that in because a lot of people go into having ferrets and then they're like, why doesn't my ferret cuddle me? Why don't they fall asleep in my lap? Papa and Momo, for example, they don't sleep on me. They won't stay still for being, you know, cuddled for that long, whereas Patsu and Remy love cuddles, and they will lay on your lap and get a nice massage, and they could stay there for like an hour or two. Each ferret is an individual. They are all so different from one another, which is one of the many great things about ferrets. Number 4 is one that you guys have heard me talk about a lot, and I continuously bring it up because repetition is key, and also it is just that important. And it is, you cannot just lock them up. You can't just keep them in a cage for the majority of the day or the majority of the night or both, because it is cruel. They have a sporadic sleeping schedule, so they're not always sleeping. But if you have them caged up, you pretty much force them to sleep that entire time. As the more time they spend in a small enclosed space with little to no enrichment, the more of a detriment it is on their mental health, well-being. Free-roaming ferrets, free-ranging ferrets are the happiest ferrets. If you can't hear me as well, my heat just kicked on. It is amazing the differences and changes that I see in ferrets who go from being caged all the time to free-roaming. A lot of my foster ferrets came to me after being caged for long periods of time, and just seeing them flourish and bloom. And at first it's awkward and they're shy and they're reserved and they kind of like don't know how to act around other animals or people, or even just like their surroundings, because they're not used to it. But then seeing that transition into being free-range ferrets is absolutely beautiful. You can ask anyone. It's like one of the most wonderful sights to see them duke and war dance and play and really interact with their environment the way that they're supposed to. We did breed ferrets for the purpose of hunting. Of course, in places where they still do that, like in Europe, it is commonplace to keep ferrets in like a hutch or something like that. However, we were interacting with them so much. I mean, hunting is very, very demanding on the ferrets. They're getting all that enrichment and stimulation, whereas it's very different from us keeping them in our houses in a cage for the majority of the time. And you think that this one would be easy to convince people, and it's really, really not. It's really difficult to convince people otherwise, as they do see ferrets as kind of like an inconvenience in their life, and to keep it as convenient as possible, they lock them up. And obviously there are exceptions to everything. There are senior ferrets, ferrets with special needs, where it's easier to keep them in a more confined space. I totally understand that. However, young ferrets, active ferrets, healthy ferrets should definitely be getting out of the cage more often than not. Number 5, they can bite, and they bite hard, tear through your finger bones, and they have for many people. Their teeth are built to devour entire rabbits and birds. Here, I'll show you. Patsu lets me his teeth. You see how sharp those teeth are? They might not look it because they're so tiny, but ooh, they pack a punch. And yes, I have been bit accidentally from the ferrets before, and it hurts so bad. Your hands are not much different from a bird or a rodent that they would normally kill, which again makes them not the best choice for people with small children. I've been asked a bunch because Brian and I hope to start a family of our own in the next year or so. Hopefully, the ferrets will still be around. Thankfully, my ferrets are trained and conditioned to not bite their people. However, you shouldn't leave ferrets alone, or any animal alone unattended with a baby. It's just not a very smart idea. But I'm bringing that up because I'm not going to be getting rid of the ferrets when we have children. This next point was actually going to be the last one that I talked about, but because I have Patsu right here, I thought it would be good to talk about it now, and that is, ferrets can be pretty aloof, but they're also capable of being very sweet and snuggly, as you can see. Patsu is the most perfect example of like the perfect image of a ferret. He is snuggly and sweet and adorable. He gives kisses. He's trainable, very receptive. He's gentle with pretty much everyone that he's met. He has been very loving towards them, but this depends largely on how you take care of them. The better you treat your ferrets, the nicer they'll be, happier they'll be in return. If you treat your ferrets right, they'll act like this guy right here. Sometimes people are like, oh, where are you getting this information from? Do you have evidence to support the things that you say? And then it's like, look at my ferrets. Proof is in the pudding right here. This guy loves everything about being here. He is happy, he is healthy. He's the sweetest ferret ever. And they're all kind of like this. They're very, very people-oriented and just so sweet. And it makes me so sad that they have so many bad stereotypes surrounding them, but I do understand where the stereotypes come from, because if you treat your ferrets the way that they tell you to in the pet stores, or even from some vets, they're gonna act like that. They're gonna act like the stinky, smelly, gross creatures that they are kind of marketed as. Now he wants to play. You will go through a lot of furniture. Ferrets are not only destructive, but their scent sticks and lingers on soft surfaces. So think couches, carpets, rugs, clothes, anything soft and plush. They're just scent in the air just like clings to it. Your carpets will probably be ruined beyond repair. I highly recommend not keeping ferrets in places with like all carpeted floors. Not only will they have accidents, most likely, on your carpet and can be hard to clean, there are just oils on their skin that they produce. Rub off on anything they touch. But on carpet, if you have light colored carpet, white carpet, don't be surprised if it starts yellowing. And it may seem like kind of like a minor thing, like, oh, why does it even really matter? It's just stuff. But when you're renting, it does matter. And if you don't have a ton of money to continuously replace the things that are destroyed or chewed or pottied on every time, you know. I mean, our couch, for example, my foster ferret, Nutmeg, she chewed a hole in the couch, and because the ferrets have been fine with the couch, like the whole year that I've had it, they started getting in the couch, they started going to the bathroom in the couch, and the couch had to go. So we have one half of the couch, and it's a sectional, so it looks kind of weird. If you're a clean freak, if you're a germaphobe, do not get ferrets, okay? I mean, obviously my house is not a disaster, it is not disgusting here, but it is work. I put in a lot of work to keep it this way. And that kind of goes into my next point, number 7, is that you will probably feel overwhelmed, especially if you have a group of them, because it is recommended to have at least 2 or 3 ferrets. Ferrets do not generally love being on their own. They go to the bathroom pretty much every 2 to 4 hours. So if you picture that, I have 4 ferrets right now, and they go to the bathroom every 2 to 4 hours. It can seem like a never-ending poo battle. Like it just never ends. It can get smelly, it can get frustrating. It will not always be accurate with litter boxes or even pee pads. You can line a whole wall with pee pads and they will go in the very tiny sliver of portion where there is no pee pad. You will have to get used to cleaning up accidents. If poo makes you nauseous, again, if you're a germaphobe, don't get ferrets. I can't stress this enough. Even if you are the type to cage them a lot, it's gonna smell even worse. They're gonna be even more disgusting. Potty habits are probably not gonna be great. If they're stressed, being pent up, and they're not given a proper outlet, they're not given proper enrichment or care, their poo is even going to be worse. If you feed them a bad diet, it's going to be worse. Now, I will say though, the smell doesn't seem to linger like after, if you're renting and you move out, it doesn't like stay in the air or anything like that. I haven't had any sort of issues with that. Number 9 is they don't care about your feelings, and many animals are the same way. They don't have the capacity to care if they hurt you, if they made you frustrated. They don't even understand what that is, essentially. They don't even really understand those human emotions. They will get into trouble regardless of your reaction, essentially. So it's really important that you don't take it out on them, because they're not doing it to spite you, even though I hate when people say that an animal is doing something to spite them or to make them angry or because they're mad at them. Or no, that's not how animals work. At least our domesticated animals don't do that. It's really important that you remain patient with them. If you have like anger problems or if you get frustrated easily and overwhelmed easy, I would not get ferrets. I have a couple additional tips that didn't really make the list, but I kind of wanted to talk about before ending the video, and that is they may not like other cats and dogs. My ferrets tolerate other animals, but they don't really want anything to do with them. Like Alphonse is kind of the oddball out, and I totally expected that. I expected that he would be more playing with us. The ferrets just don't like him that much, and I don't blame them because they really kind of stick to themselves. They love other ferrets, they love people, and they're kind of too much for Alphonse, to be honest. Alphonse is actually pretty good with them and pretty patient and tolerant, but they can be pretty rough with him. And then lastly, kind of random and doesn't really have to do with ferrets themselves, it's just kind of another truth that I've come to learn, and that is the ferret community can be very aggressive. I've been a part of many different animal communities, groups for all different things, and I will say with certainty, and so many other people have said this as well, the ferret community is can be extremely aggressive and very close-minded. They've been doing things a certain way. They really don't like it when new people come in and try to offer up different ways of doing things. They just are not the most welcoming community, so I don't recommend when you get ferrets to like join. I mean, you can join the groups, obviously. I'm not telling you not to join the groups, but you know, take everything with a grain of salt. Don't kind of follow the crowd with things. If there's something that you're interested in, a supplement that you're interested in, a medicinal herb that you're interested in, ferrets shouldn't have supplements, they don't need supplements, herbs can be harmful, etc., etc. Do your own research. You know, if you're interested in something, find a holistic vet practitioner, kind of how it seems to be. I have yet to find a ferret community or group that isn't like that, but that's where I wanted to end the video because I also thought that that was important to add. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it helps. I hope my wisdom and insight was able to help you decide if you even want ferrets, if you're ready for ferrets. See you in my next video. I am doing Vlogmas. I'm doing one vlog a week though, but I am vlogging every day, and I'll see you guys there.